Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Forever Mighty post-game show. What a night for Ducks fans. This is something we're used to seeing all out of the playoffs last season. Ducks with a comeback victory here tonight in Edmonton. A 5-4 overtime victory against McJesus and the Oilers. This is something I did not see coming out of this game. I felt like the Ducks were going to be able to take away a win here, Eddy. I did not think going into overtime that this was going to be a fun experience just based off of what McDavid could do amongst other guys on this team. But what a dominant third period to spring the comeback and clean up all the pieces. Ducks get the win and a much-needed 2 points.
Yeah, finally we see a comeback really at the way they were playing going into that third period. It wasn't necessarily bad, but it was, I guess you could say, not ideal, especially going in down 3-1, and they finally turned things on. This is like reminiscent of the comeback kids from a couple of years ago, where the Ducks were able to just find another level in the third period and really get things going. And when the Oilers scored that fourth goal too to put them ahead, they didn't really sit back and say, "Oh well, damn, we're down late. This is going to be tough to get back." They kept up the pressure, dominated the third period. And it's exciting to see. I mean, this was a game they should have won, and they made it a lot closer than it should have been. But huge 2 points. I mean, it's huge with the standings and the fact that LA lost the other night.
Well, the good news is they lost last night.
Yes.
They're the ones, right? Yeah, they're the ones that had to go in and play Edmonton. Edmonton beat them. It was a really odd, as we mentioned last game, going into tonight, that it would be a weird home and home back-to-back. You don't see that too often anywhere in the league. The Ducks, were fortunate enough to come in and wake up somehow in the third period and take advantage and get the win. Destiny's in their hands. This is what we've been talking about. They got to win out, right? That's what we want anyway. Yeah. But we've almost felt like they had to. They've come through here in this game. Hampus Lindholm, my boy, with the OT winner. I know, spoiler alert, if you haven't already heard or seen the game. Obviously, you're here to hear us be excited about it. So let's get into the pregame here. We had some great news coming in, and what a difference these two guys made being back in the lineup. Josh Manson and Ryan Getzlaf back in the lineup. El Capitan, much, much, much needed in this game. I felt like his presence was felt all over the place for this Ducks team. And, of course, Josh Manson would tally one here. Scratches, Antoine Vermette, JT Brown, Andy Walensky, and Corbinian Holzer are the scratches tonight. Gibby, as the Ducks have hashtag give him the Vezina. I mean, I don't know when they started getting on board with the Vezina talk. I believe if you want to play that stupid game of who said what first, I believe that was us. But he gets to start net, and poor Cam Talbot gets the back-to-back home-and-home starts as we kick off this first period. Kind of an even first period, wouldn't you say? I mean, I wrote in the notes, like, holy hell, what a sequence there by Gibson. Strome with a chance, Puyarvi with a chance, and one went off the crossbar there. Ducks looked a little sloppy. Kasha with a breakaway. Just a little bit back and forth, almost like pond hockey-esque at times.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, going back a little bit to the pregame, I feel bad, like you said, for Cam Talbot. That's a rough game where they were able to come out with a win against LA, and that was kind of on him and Connor McDavid that night. And then he's forced to go in tonight because Al Montoya can't go. And I guess it's not too hard to feel bad for him because a lot of us remember some of his comments from the playoff series when Ryan Kesler was holding his pad, as he said. So I can't feel too bad for him. But yeah, I mean he played pretty decent in this game at times too. So I guess kudos to him for being able to come out and actually play it back to back.
That's true. You know what? I went too far ahead, man. Let's go ahead and kick the show off.
I was gonna say we got an intro here. We gotta plug in. So
let's do it. I got too excited.
Trying to get by Benning. Darnell Nurse left it in the corner. Gets up center. Perry scores. Corey Perry.
Lilia able to shake away from Solani. It's given away to Solani. Around in front. Score! Teemu Solani with the steal.
Three of the fans want one. Score! Off the floor. On the board. Paul Kariya.
Well, we can kick things off with the chat before we get into the first period. Gordon Bombay saying Talbot sucks and Darnell Nurse sucks. Get at me. So, good way to start. Quack and Steve saying excellent comeback and a rare OT win. I agree with that. Finally, unconventional. We'll get to it. An unconventional setup in overtime, but a huge win.
I was happy with it. Obviously, I skipped over our intro. I was like, let's just get right into the meat of this game.
We're too excited.
It was a fun game. I was way too excited because the Ducks finally woke up in a third period in a game that we haven't seen in a bit. But yeah, Darnell Nurse sucks, and so does Cam Talbot. I like that talk. Poor Cam Talbot, though. I don't think he sucks. He did have a rough night. But this Ducks team, I felt like they kind of weren't all that dangerous in that first period. Edmonton had some chances. Shots ended up 12-11 Edmonton, and it was 0-0 after one. Did you have any other feelings on that first period? I kind of felt like it was besides that sequence where Gibby had to stand tall and catch a crossbar. The Ducks didn't look all that great.
Yeah, there wasn't much really going for either team. It's kind of just a little back and forth, and Gibby had to make a couple good saves, but I mean that's what we're used to from him now. I think every game he makes a couple 10-bell saves where he puts him back in that discussion for the Vezina. Like, oh yeah, well that's why we're talking about him and the possibility of him being the best goaltender in the National Hockey League this season. So, yeah, disappointing first period, I guess you could say, considering Edmonton had played the other night, and they didn't really look that tired for a team that played last night, a tough game against LA. They came out flying.
I guess the only thing I'd have to add to that is I would expect more from Anaheim. Like you said, they had, Edmonton played back-to-back. I mean, the only thing with Edmonton is that they didn't have to travel, right? They just got to wake up and go to work.
Yeah.
The Ducks, I would expect more out of them. I mean, I know we're happy for the outcome of the game, but falling asleep at the wheel for the first two periods, rather, it was just kind of not the way we wanted this game to go as we get into the second period. Ducks come up with nothing on a power play, which has been disappointing as of late. And then just a second after the power play expires, McDavid doing McDavid things, snapshot right past Gibby. I wrote in the notes, we'll allow it just based on how Gibson's been holding this team together. He's allowed to have a goal that he would probably want back. Granted, it's off.
Yeah.
I mean, what we're looking at as the Art Trophy winner, right? I mean, McDavid just scores when he wants to score, and that was just one of those cases for me.
Yeah, it's one of those shots where he's just so deceptive with his release that, it looked like such a simple and easy shot to save, but it's Connor McDavid, and he can just make those types of goals happen. So, I mean, you got to give some credit to the guy because, really, I mean, Gibby wasn't screened, and it was just a pinpoint shot on the inside of the post to the far side. There wasn't much he could do. I think it was Manson who kind of just left him a little bit too wide open. I mean, this is a guy who now sits at 99 points, primed for his back-to-back 100-point seasons, which is insane at this day and age in the NHL. And you gave him way too much space. I mean, he's got to close that down.
No, he does. But, I mean, it was almost like that goal against Quick last night that McDavid had. His first one went 5-hole. It looked like a nothing shot. It didn't look like it was like a laser through him. But that shot in stride, that snapshot in stride is such a fast release for him. And, you saw that guy just gain speed to the neutral zone against the Kings. It was like 3 crossovers or 4 crossovers heading to the neutral zone. He was gone. The guy just makes things look so easy. And he's just that dangerous. It's hard to really fault anybody because he just kind of does what he wants. Yeah. But not too long after, Josh Manson, fresh off of the injured list, gets one, goes top shelf. It was almost like I don't want to say it was a fake half slap shot, but it didn't look like he wound up, but that it wasn't. I don't know. It was a weird shot. Yeah. It looked like a slap shot to me, but he kind of just at the last second let up a tad and went top corner on Cam Talbot, made a 1-1.
Yeah, he kind of pump faked it a bit. And I think Talbot was looking for a blast, and then he kind of took a little bit off of it and just guided it top corner. But it was a bomb, even with him taking a bit off of it, and he ripped it off the bar and in. And nice for him to come back in and have an impact offensively because he was sorely missed in the last game, and you could see it in the way the Ducks played. And to get him and Ryan Getzlaf back is huge. And, I mean, Manson continues to surprise with his offensive production. I mean, nobody expected him to have this type of season. I think he leads the Ducks defensemen in points. If we had to pick at the beginning of the season, I think we probably would have had him, 4th, maybe 5th behind some other guys based on his production in the past. So for him to be up there is pretty crazy.
Yeah, and everyone might comment about his second assist, as we said before, but those all count. Those all count about where you are on the score sheet and you're still there making plays, then I would agree with you. I would never pegged him to lead this team in points. I would probably put Cam Fowler up there, honestly, or even Brandon Montour at that point.
Yeah.
But Manson there was the sign of things to come. Really, this Ducks offense was just defense-oriented, really. When you look up and down the score sheet, I mean, it was the defense that was creating, and that's just the kind of the way it would go. But this second period just didn't go well for Anaheim. Edmonton just looked like they were getting lots of movement on their power play, and it would end up developing into a goal here. Benning with a point shot off the skate of Ty Ratty. It goes in. It's 2-1 Edmonton, and they're getting those high slot chances. I felt like they were getting a bunch of them in the second period. That's when they cashed in.
Yeah, and again, I mean, it's Connor McDavid setting things up, right? Yeah, I mean, he passes it over to Benning, who gets the point shot off, and it's a little bit unfortunate to hit Ty Ratty and go in. And again, you can't really blame Gibson. But it's kind of unacceptable a bit, and I know it's lucky going in off the foot, but this Oilers power play is awful. I mean, they're under 15% for the season. I don't know a team in a long time where their power play hasn't been that bad almost at the end point of the regular season. But, you know, they're eventually going to get some, and if they're going to get one, you would expect Connor McDavid to be involved like he was, and this kind of just continued what was a not-so-great second period by the Ducks.
You know what's funny about that is when you put it that way, if you think about it, if they're under 15%, that means they're giving the penalty kill an 86% chance on average of killing off that power play. And the Ducks just weren't able to do it there. But like you said, this second period was one the Ducks just don't want to remember. It was just very reminiscent of like the second periods of the past where they were just shut down in the second. Gibby had to make a big save off a Raquel turnover. I noticed 12 minutes into that second period, the shots were 11-3 in that period alone in favor of the Oilers. It's just not a great thing going. Ducks couldn't get the power play going at all. I don't know what's going on with this power play. I mean, we kind of felt like there would be flashes of brilliance from this power play with their new look as they were running Montour, Fowler, Getzlaf, Henrique, and Raquel. Do you know anything what's going on with that? Have you seen anything in particular as to why this isn't clicking? I mean, when you get chances against an Edmonton team like this, you should be able to generate a lot of chances. And they felt like they couldn't get anything going.
Yeah, I mean, the power play's been this weird situation for the Ducks all season. And I guess it extends a bit into last season as well. But they have the talent, really, to get things going. And I believe we've talked about this before a bit, is they don't really have that guy, that go-to guy who's going to shoot the puck on the power play.
The trigger guy, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of passing, a lot of overpassing on some occasions. A lot of times they don't get clean entries, and when they do, that's when you don't have a guy who's designated to shoot the puck. And we've said before we'd like to see Montour maybe on that far side, on his strong side, kind of creep down to the top of the circle and rip some shots from there. And then if you had to pick a guy, I mean, Raquel's as good a guy as any to be the trigger guy in the power play. You know, he's only Duck right now over 30 goals, and you would expect him to be the go-to guy. Unfortunately, he's not, and I feel like it's kind of a systems thing. I think they got to get a new guy in there running the power play and figuring out how to set it up, because, you know, the Ducks have the talent to have a good power play. I just feel like the setup is what's hurting them a bit.
I would probably agree with that, because that's, you know, what's going on. They do a lot of passing, not a lot of shooting. They're just trying to get that perfect, pretty play. Moving on here so we can get this junk of a period out of the way. The Oilers, on what looked like was a power play, was Draisaitl with just a blast. He was almost down with a goal line on a one-time shot, beats Gibson. Total zone domination by Edmonton on this play. I don't understand what the heck was going on. How do you let a guy like Leon Draisaitl go off the radar in the defensive zone like that and get all alone for a one-time shot on Gibby, who pretty much had no chance? He's trying to read the puck. It's going all over the ice in the zone. And now it's 3-1 Edmonton.
That's the second time, too, that he was left wide open like that. The first time he whiffed on the puck, and Gibby was able to just grab it out of midair because there was barely anything on the shot. This is a guy, especially against the Ducks, that if you give him two chances, he's not going to do the same thing twice. And, of course, this one he rips over the shoulder for Gibson. Again, not much Gibby could do on that when you've got a lethal goal scorer like Draisaitl just left wide open. He's able to wind up and just blast it to the top corner. And this was a summation of a bad period for the Ducks, where, you know, you allow 3 goals in that second period, and they just didn't look good. I mean, the shots ended up being 14-4 Edmonton. it was just awful. It didn't look like a team that was fighting to get in the playoffs. They looked like a team that was just withering away and weren't really